You know that specific kind of panic? It's almost a physical feeling.
Oh, yeah.
You've been studying a language for months. You've got the apps, the flashcards. Maybe you've watched a few movies. You feel like, okay, I'm ready.
And then the moment of truth comes.
You have to actually introduce yourself to a real person
Yeah.
and just blank.
Total static. The brain just freezes. It is the absolute universal nightmare of language learning. It's that huge gap between what you know passively, like what you can read,
Right.
and what you can actually get out of your mouth when you're on the spot.
Exactly. It's like your brain and your mouth just decide they're not on speaking terms.
Yeah.
The words are in there somewhere, but you can't find the path to them.
Well, today we are going to fix that.
We are doing a deep dive into the absolute essentials. We're talking about mastering the A1 level, the basic user level, and really the art of the self-introduction.
And we're not just pulling from, dry textbook theory. We've got a really great stack of practical sources here. We have transcripts from the Pod English series, which is all about daily habits. We have the basic IELTS listening textbook, which is fantastic for the nitty-gritty details like names and numbers.
And we're also looking at the official CER framework just to define what success at this level even looks like.
Exactly.
So the mission for us today is pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get from knowing about English to actually using it? How do we get past hello without that total freeze up?
This is really a guide to introduce yourself in English, but yeah, we're going deep on the mechanics of A1 listening practice.
So where does that journey even begin?
It starts with a technique that kept coming up in the Pod English source. It's a thing called shadowing.
Shadowing. Okay, that sounds a little mysterious, like spycraft or something.
It does, but they describe it as something much simpler. It's basically like being an echo.
An echo.
An echo, yeah, but with a really important twist. See, most learners, when they hear a sentence, their first instinct is to translate it.
Right, you hear it, your brain flips it into your native language.
Yeah.
You figure it out, and then you try to build a reply.
That's the translation delay.
That's where I get stuck. I'm still figuring out the past tense, and they're already on the next topic.
Exactly. Shadowing just bypasses that whole process. You listen to a sentence and you repeat it.
Exactly.
So
Matching the speed, the tone, the rhythm, almost at the same time.
you don't even wait for them to finish the sentence.
You're right on their heels.
Yeah.
And crucially, you do it without stopping to look up words.
Wait, without looking things up? That feels so counterintuitive. Don't I need to know what a word like fluently means before I say it? I mean, am I really learning if I'm just parroting sounds?
That's the fascinating part. The source makes it clear that shadowing, in that moment, isn't about intellectual understanding. It's about muscle memory.
Ah, okay.
It's about physically training your brain and your mouth to work together. You're getting your mouth used to the actual shapes of English sounds.
So it's less like a classroom lecture and more like going to the gym for your tongue. That is a perfect analogy, because if your mouth isn't used to making, say, the sound or the English R, it doesn't matter how many words you know. You're going to stumble.
Right.
The source gives some great simple examples to practice with. Things like, I want to speak English fluently, or I listen to English every day.
I listen to English every day. It seems so simple.
It is, but try saying it with the exact intonation of a native speaker. If their voice goes up at the end, your voice goes up. If they pause after listen, you pause.
And the source says just 5 minutes of this a day can help.
Just 5 minutes. It can help you speak faster and more naturally because you're not fighting that delay in your brain anymore.
I really like that. It takes the pressure off being smart
Mm-hmm.
and just puts the focus on doing. It's mechanical.
Exactly.
But okay, let's say we've done our shadowing. We're ready. We actually have to introduce ourselves. The basic IELTS listening source had some really practical breakdowns of what actually goes into that.
It did, and it highlights something we all tend to overlook because it seems so basic. Names.
Names. Surely everyone knows their own name. I mean, come on, that's the one thing I don't have to study.
You know your name, sure, but do you know the terminology? And can you spell it out loud under pressure? The source points out how much confusion happens between first name and given name, which are the same thing, and then last name, family name, or surname.
I have definitely stared at a form for way too long wondering what family name meant, especially if your culture orders names differently.
Precisely. In a test or even just checking into a hotel, mixing those up can be a real problem. But the real challenge, according to the source, isn't just knowing the name, it's the spelling.
Ah, the alphabet drill.
A huge part of A1 listening tests.
Oh, I remember this from school. The vowels are the absolute worst.
They're a classic trap. The source specifically flags the confusion between the sounds of the letters A, E, and I. For non-native speakers, those sounds can really slide into each other.
So someone says their name is spelled Evans, and you hear it as an I.
And you've written down the wrong person. And then there's G and J.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's funny because you know how to spell your own name in your head. But if someone is confirming it over a bad phone line and they say, is that J for Jameson? And you're expecting a G,
That's the panic.
it really proves that the alphabet isn't just for kindergarten, It's survival English.
Yeah,
If you can't spell your name, you can't check in, you can't get your ID badge, you can't open a bank account.
it's the foundation.
The absolute foundation. And right after names, the conversation almost always pivots to the same place.
Where are you from?
The classic opener. The IELTS source had a lot of British examples here, which was interesting.
Yeah, it was all Edinburgh in Scotland or Cardiff in Wales.
Right. But the key takeaway isn't that you need to memorize UK cities. It's the nuance the source pointed out, the difference between the city, the country, and the nationality.
Okay, right. So you can be from Japan, that's
Mhm.
the country,
Mm-hmm.
but your nationality is Japanese. Okay.
It seems like such a small detail, but on an A1 test or in any formal situation, precision matters. If the question is, what is his nationality, and you write Japan, you're technically wrong. You answered a where question with a what answer.
It's those tiny little details that trip you up. And speaking of details, what about roles? The IMA part of the intro.
The standard formula, right? I am a student, I am a doctor. The source material has students introducing themselves with their specific subjects: biology, engineering, arts.
So it's not just I study, it's I study biology. It gives that extra layer of information.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got names, places, jobs. But here's where it gets really tricky, and honestly, this is the part that still scares me in other languages. Numbers.
A numbers game. This is where it gets real.
Why are numbers so hard in a foreign language? It's like I can have a philosophical debate, but if someone tells me a phone number, my brain just shuts down.
It's because numbers are pure data. There are no context clues. If I say the dog ran and you miss the word ran, you can probably guess it from dog. But if I say the price is 40 and you miss 40, you're lost. It could be 14, 40, 400. You're flying blind.
And English numbers are especially devious. The source mentions how introductions quickly lead to logistics, exchanging phone numbers, setting times.
Talking about prices,
Yeah.
and the IELTS source highlights that classic problem, teen versus E.
Oh, 13 versus 30, 14 versus 40. I can never hear the difference. If you're in a noisy room, good luck.
It all comes down to the stress patterns. This is what you have to train your ear to catch. With, say, 13 or 14, the stress is on that second syllable.
14. Okay, I hear that long E sound.
Exactly. But with 30 or 14, the stress is right at the front.
30, 14. Wow, that actually is a lifesaver.
And the source gets into this survival English stuff with prices, which makes it very concrete. It uses these really mundane, everyday examples.
Like the price of doing laundry. I saw that one. It was something like, what, £1.80 for a small machine?
That's right. Or a return train ticket to a town called Littlegate costing £7.
I love the fake textbook towns. But the point is, you're not just listening for 7. You're listening for £7 or £1.80.
It's all about precision. And that extends to dates, too. The source notes how you might see May 14 written, but you'll hear it spoken as the 14th of May.
And the ordinals. You don't say May 14, you say May 14th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd.
Which is vital for birthdays, another key part of an introduction. Saying my birthday is May 1 is understandable, but it immediately marks you as a beginner. May 1st is the goal.
It signals that you get the structure, not just the words.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a pattern here. It's not just about vocabulary, it's about the specific structures for delivering information. But you can't just study lists of numbers all day. The Poet English source had some great tips for immersion strategies.
This really gets back to that core question we started with. How do you practice every day if you don't live in London or New York?
And their answer is you don't need to. You just need small, smart steps.
My favorite one was the phone setting tip.
Oh, it's so simple, but so brilliant.
Yeah.
Just change your phone's language to English.
It's passive learning at its best. Think about how many times you look at your phone. 50. 100 times a day. You're constantly seeing words like settings, airplane mode, update available.
And you just absorb them. Airplane mode stops being a vocabulary word and just becomes the button you press.
You associate the function directly with the English. For more active practice, though, the source had another great one. the three-sentence diary.
I love this because I always try to journal in a new language, and I get so overwhelmed I try to write some deep philosophical thought, and I just quit after 2 days.
That's the trap. We try to write novels. The three-sentence diary has a strict limit. 3 simple sentences about your day. That's it.
So what would that look like for an A1 learner?
Something like, I went to work, I was tired, I drank coffee.
That's it.
That's it. But look at what it does. It builds basic sentence structure, subject, verb, object. It forces you to master the past tense of daily verbs. Went, was, drank. These are irregular verbs that trip everyone up.
And if you write them every day, they just become automatic.
Which connects to what I think is the most powerful tip of all, thinking in English.
The holy grail of fluency.
The source encourages you to just narrate your own life internally. You wake up and you think, the sky is blue, I need coffee, I am tired.
You're bypassing that translation delay we talked about. You're connecting the object, the coffee, directly to the English word.
Exactly. And to take it one step further, they suggest recording a 1-minute voice message at the end of the day.
Just talking to yourself.
Talking to your future self. Record it, then listen back. You will hear your own pronunciation mistakes in a way you just can't when you're speaking live.
Oof. Listening to your own voice is a bold move.
It is, but it builds so much self-awareness. When you speak, you're focused on what to say. When you listen back, you can focus on how you said it.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, I want to zoom out a bit. We've been throwing this term A1 around. What does that actually mean? If I'm an A1 user, what can I actually do?
It's so important to define this because people get discouraged. They think they need to be debating politics to be good at English. But A1, according to the CER framework, is the basic user.
Okay, so what's the bar? What's the goal?
An A1 user can understand familiar words about themselves, their family, and their immediate surroundings. If people speak slowly and clearly.
If people speak slowly and clearly, that's the big caveat.
It is. You're not expected to understand a fast-paced news report. The goal is a simple, direct exchange of information. The IELTS Life Skills source had a perfect example of this.
The one about weekend plans, with the trip to the town and the mountains.
That's the one. Let's look at what the listener actually had to do. There's a short dialogue about a woman wanting to go to the Little Gate. The listener just has to identify 2 things. Who can she see there, and how much is the ticket?
And the answers were her cousin and 7 pounds.
Exactly. Not complicated. And in the second part, a man wants to go to the mountains. He's worried about something. The listener just needs to catch what he's worried about.
His new boots.
I just hope my new boots are comfortable. That is the level of A1 comprehension. It's identifying specific details. Cousin, 7 pounds, boots, in a short, clear story.
It's not about understanding every single nuanced word. It's about catching the relevant facts.
Right.
That makes it feel so much more achievable. You're just listening for the key nouns, the numbers, the main feeling.
It's functional. Can you get the ticket? Can you meet the cousin? Can you say your feet might hurt? If you can do that, you're succeeding at A1.
Okay, so we know the level, we know the practice techniques, but what about testing? What are the common traps we need to watch out for? The IELTS source had some really eye-opening ones.
These are the gotchas, the little things that lose you points, even if you understood the meaning. The biggest one, silent letters.
Oh, English is just terrible for this.
That's right.
Why are there so many letters we don't even pronounce?
A long and complicated history. But for a learner, it's a minefield. Knowing that Wednesday has a silent D or knife starts with a K. In a listening test where you have to rate the answer, spelling counts. Wednesday is just wrong.
In plurals. I saw that in the notes and thought, that just feels mean.
It does feel mean, but it's about accuracy. The source gives the example of hat versus hats. If the speaker says, I bought 3 hats, and you just write hat,
It's wrong, you missed the hats.
you miss the plural marker, so you have to train your ear to catch that little hiss at the end of a word.
And what about accents?
A huge factor. A lot of these materials, like the basic IELTS book, are very focused on British English.
Right, so you're hearing flat instead of apartment, or lorry instead of truck.
Exactly. And even pronunciation, the word schedule sounds totally different. The source really advises minimizing distractions and practicing consistently, at least 3 times a week, to tune your ear.
3 times a week. That's manageable. It fits that whole small, smart steps idea. It's not about cramming for 5 hours on a Sunday.
No, that's just a recipe for burnout. It's about building a routine, making English part of the furniture of your life, not some scary event.
So if we pull this all together, what's the big picture? We are shadowing for the mouth, the diary for the brain, and focusing on details like names and numbers for the ears.
The main takeaway is that A1 isn't about being brilliant or poetic. It's about precision with the absolute basics. It's mastering your personal data, your name, your job, where you're from. And it's about shifting from studying to living.
Living with the language.
Yes. There was a thought in the Code English source that I loved. English shouldn't be a subject you study for 30 minutes on a Monday. It should be like your morning coffee.
Something you just have. Something you live with.
And when it becomes that, the fear starts to fade.
Because you're not performing English anymore. You're just using it to buy a train ticket or talk about your new boots.
You stop judging yourself and you just start communicating.
So here's our challenge to you, the listener. This deep dive is about to end. Don't just turn it off and go back to your native language thoughts.
Try that thinking in English tip right now.
Look around you. What do you see?
The wall is white. The phone is black. I'm listening.
Start that internal narration. It's the first real step to making that self-introduction a whole lot less scary. Thanks for joining us on Deep Dive.
See you next time.